Alright, so in this episode, I'm going to try and make it as brief an episode as possible. We're going to be looking at extruding. And I chose to give extrusions its own episode because it's a very important part. Aside from, I'd say, cutting up polygons, I'd say that this is the most important and frequently used tool that at least I use in my development. Because almost every time after you go ahead and you cut some faces, you're going to be extruding one of them, another one. It's just one of those tools that you're going to use all the time, and they've put a lot of work into giving it a lot of powerful capabilities. And I want to make sure that we don't just skim over the tool and throw it in a set of 3 other tools and then have take everything that you can out of the extrude tool, because understanding the extrude tool is understanding a lot of construction in Maya. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to get in here, and we're going to go ahead and we're just going to make a polycube. And that's what we've been doing this whole time, right? I'm going to take down the size of my manipulators. You can change the size of your manipulator with a plus and minus. Just a quick tip, if you will. So the extrude tool is under faces or edges. When you hold shift right click, it's down here. It is also under edit mesh extrude. And here we're just going to go ahead and use what I have, which are the default settings are fairly close. And I'm going to show you frequently. This is a command that I do so often. I'm just going to shift right click down. You're not even going to see a pop-up menu. You're just going to see it extrude out. So if I do that by mistake, my apologies. I extruded doing this, because you may have seen that little block there for 2 seconds or a split second. That's because you don't have to wait for markup menus to pop up before you can issue the command. So if you know the direction that it's in, you can just fire like that. Another trick that might be confusing, that again I'm going to try not to do, but if I do, I'm sorry, is if you hold shift and you middle click and drag, you don't have to touch the manipulators to move something or interact with it. So it takes the direction that you're swiping the mouse in when you hold down middle click. So I'm holding down the shift key, and then I'm middle clicking while I'm dragging, and you can see that it's using the move tool in that direction. But let's see what we just did with our extrude. So we extruded, and then we pulled out, and you can see that it left this edge behind. What it really did was it created these 4 faces. See, in that last video I said you can get stuck faces sometimes? That was an example. It gave us these 4 faces. So let's say we want to pull up these 2. What we're going to do is we're going to add 1, 2, 3, 4 more faces here and 4 more faces here when we extrude and we pull up. So you can see we added these and these. We can go ahead and we can turn this on so we can see what we're doing outside of this. Because just like the cut faces tool, you can see that this is still a flat surface and you don't tell the difference. That's why this little blue marker here will show you your lines when you're in object mode. It's actually, I used to hate it because it looked messy. It looked like there was a lot of stuff going on. Busy. That's the word I'm looking for. But it's actually really helpful once you get using it. So there we go. That's basically what I would have shown you if I gave extrude its own thing. And you'll notice something that I did there. When I extruded, I hit the W tool because these faces are still here, and when I pull out it does the same thing. But if I'm on an off-axis object, it's going to pull in the world view. So I'll give you an example of that. I'm going to extrude out this face, and then I'm going to slant it. Now what's going to happen when I extrude this face out is, I'll just show you, it's going to give me the positive Z direction stretching outwards from the normal of the object. hold on. Sorry about that. I'm an RA in a building. I'm responsible for making sure people are following the rules, blah, blah, blah. Someone was pulling the alarm in the elevator. Anyways, what you'll see is that it pulls outward from the face normal. So if I want to do this extrusion again, but I don't want to move in that direction, I hit W, and I can pull away in this direction. So when you extrude from a face normal, from an off-axis face, it'll give you this extrusion, which is really nice, but you have to make sure you don't accidentally do that. So the next thing we're going to look at is extruding on a curve. This is an intermediate or an advanced level operation, but I feel that it has a lot of merit. Like I said in some of the other tutorials, it's up to you if you want to use it, because it can be problematic. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to create a polycube. Again, I'm just going to stretch it out so it's a rectangle. And what I want to do is, let's say I want to make a sidewalk here. I want to make this curve around like this. What I can do is I can use the extrude options on a curve. So I can go to extrude face, and we have a bunch of options here. Divisions will add divisions to the face that we extrude. So I'll just show an example of that real quick. I'm going to apply, which will extrude, and then I'm going to pull this out. You can see that there's one here, and you can interact it with these on the fly over here. So 10 divisions, now there are 10 sections. Offset, I wouldn't worry yourself with. It just kind of it scales in the face is what it does. You can consider it scale. And you can see that giving it absurd numbers is going to give it issues. And then thickness, that's, I guess it pulls this out more. I don't think I've ever used thickness. So that's what you get here. Smoothing angle determines at what angle your normal is going to be softened. So I wouldn't worry about that right now. You'll understand that more when we get into to edges and softening and hardening them, normals and such. Curve settings. This is where we want to be. You can have selected on if you are not extruding with a curve, because if you don't select it, obviously it's not going to extrude on the selected curve. So don't be worried if you have that on instead of none. Doesn't really matter. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit generated, and I'm going to go ahead and hit apply. And at first you're not going to see much of a difference. I'm going to go ahead and give this at least 10 divisions. But I'm going to go into object mode, and I'm going to hit 4. Oops, I hit 3 as well. So I'll hit 0 to get out of that, and I'll hit 4 so I can see through it. And you see this blue line here? That's a curve. We're going to go over it, and we're going to say Control Vertex. I'm right-clicking. And that's going to allow me to reposition the control points for this curve. So stretching this out adds influence to this section of the geometry. I'm going to go ahead and put on X-ray geometry so you can kind of see it still. And you can see I can pull this out here, and then I can pull this out over here. You can see, just like that, we've built our sidewalk. Now, when you're done editing with deformers, which is what this technically is, well, first I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to reset the settings. Even though sometimes they don't hold, but that's another issue. Anytime you're editing with a deformer, you want to delete the history on the object before you delete the deformer. So this curve is the deformer. This polygon is the thing being deformed. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to edit, delete by type history. And then we can delete this curve. And there we go, we've got a sidewalk. Maybe we want to delete the stuff under here. Go ahead and do that. We've got a little sidewalk. That is about all I had to say about the Extrude tool. You can see that it's an incredibly useful tool. Hell, this could be a sidewalk, could be a banana clip for a gun, could be anything. You'll see in some of my other tutorials, it is the most frequently used tool. I have one more thing that I want to show you that I actually, thank God I caught myself. I'm going to go ahead, excuse me. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull this up here, and you're going to see what I'm doing in a second. I'm going to take what we learned last time, the interactive split tool, and I'm going to cut this into quarters. And you may have seen this before. This is what a lot of people use to explain this. In fact, I think that this is in the official Autodesk Maya training manual. But what we're going to do is we're going to create a door really quick. So I've subdivided this into 4 faces, and I'm going to perform the Extrude tool on here. And I'm going to go into some of the additional properties of this extrude. You can see that there's a lot more options than what we just see in the box in the history of the object. So what we're going to say is we're going to do keep faces together, and we're going to turn that to off. And I'll show you what happens. I'm going to scale down the Y, and you'll see that it's scaling relative to the center area. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this to 0, which is going to turn that off. And now I'm going to scale in the Y. There we go. It didn't register. But now you'll see that it's using local areas. That's why keep faces together off. Then we can pull this in. You can already kind of see it coming together, right? And then we can pull this up or down, whichever way doors go. And then we'll do it again by hitting the G key, which is the repeat action. Pull this in again. Pull up. Take our object. Harden all the edges. There we have a door. Actually, it needs screwed up. That's fine, we can fix it. I'm going to extrude all these faces around it out. And the way that I'm going to do that is by pulling in the local Z direction. And you can see what's happening there. This is bad topology, by the way, which is why it's not cooperating. And what I'm doing to snap it is I'm holding down V while I move it. So V, shift, middle click, and then swipe in the direction. Now we've got like a closet door or something. That makes a little more sense. So that is the Extrude tool and a lot of the stuff that you can do with it. I mentioned the local Z direction, which is if you're ever extruding something, you want to extrude it to an exact amount. Right now we're in centimeters, but I'm going to say I want to go 10 centimeters. Sorry, local translate Z. There, I moved it 10 centimeters up. So if you ever need to move in an exact amount like that, you can also do that in here. And that's, if you get out of it, you can see it's under poly extrude face. So that is what you can do with the Extrude tool. That's not all you can do with the Extrude tool. There are limitless, once you have cutting faces and extruding, you have limitless possibilities. You can always move around those vertices in any way that you want, and you can create literally anything with just those tools. Other tools are going to make it a hell of a lot faster, which is why I suggest you continue watching the series. Alright, My laundry's done, so I'm going to see you guys later.